Greetings, free thinkers. Welcome to the Hoggcast. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing fine. I certainly am. Okay, what do we have for you on today's episode? We have for you an old school Hoggcast video. Can you remember the old days when we used to do like free clips and it would be from all over the place and we would comment on things, whatever it is that's happening, yeah? It's going to be one of those videos. It's like old school, yeah? So we've got 3 clips to watch. The first one here is of The Hague, Netherlands. I know it looks like the largely peaceful crowd have been through and done what they normally do, but it's not, believe it or not. It's regular people this time who have been pushed as far as about they can really be pushed. So you should know that European countries are taking a sudden, unneeded and bizarre turn towards Orwellian authoritarianism. And people have had about enough. In Austria, it's unbelievable what they're doing in Austria, right? This, you can see here, is The Hague in the Netherlands, right? That's bad enough, because generally they're peaceful people, right? And I mean, when I say largely peaceful, I actually mean largely peaceful. I don't mean the quote-unquote largely peaceful stuff you get from British and American, especially American, I'm afraid, mainstream media. And then in Austria, not only are they doing a full winter lockdown, but they are forcing every human being to get a poke. They are doing a complete and total poke mandate on the entire Austrian population. I mean, what an overreach! Why didn't they run this past the people during the election they had there? Why don't they ever put any of this to the people when they're running for election for government? Why don't they ever say, we're gonna do a poke mandate, we're gonna force everyone, including your children, to get it? Even what will it be next? A poke mandate for dogs and cats and animals? Don't give them ideas. So we have that. We have this, and then the third clip is from a NHS nurse. The NHS in Britain, I mean, for my British viewers, you know exactly what the NHS is. For those from overseas, you might not, you might do, I don't know, I'll tell you what it is anyway. The National Health Service. It is our publicly funded health service. No matter where you are in the British, the Kingdom of Britain, you can walk into a hospital and get treatment, providing you're a citizen. In fact, even if you're not a citizen, we don't seem to enforce our people moving in and out laws, we'll call them. So let's get into this video. If you haven't yet though, please like the video, subscribe to the Hoggcast, hit the notification bell, and share the video around. I probably didn't explain why I've got the woman from the NHS, the video. She's going to nuke the mainstream media narrative that there was bodies piling up in the corridors and the nurses were collapsing due to dehydration and all that stuff. They were hyperventilating. So we're going to listen to what she has to say. Anyway, let's go. Okay, clip 1. This is The Hague in the Netherlands. The local populace are extremely angry due to this almost continent-wide poke mandates that are being enforced simultaneously on the people. So you tell me that's not coordinated. One thing I'd like to quickly point out, I often criticise the woke left when they do things like this, and I say that, what did you achieve? You didn't achieve anything, really. And that would also apply here, because look, at the end of the day, as conservatives, we have to be even, we have to play the even field here, right? I know that there are cases where you have to stick with your tribe, and that is going to happen more and more. It will happen more and more. But when it comes to things like this, you can't sanction it. And, sorry, got an itchy leg. You can't sanction it. And the reason why you can't sanction it is because, one, you are, of course, sanctioning civil disorder. And we don't want to be the side that champions it and sanctions civil disorder. But the biggest point is that you're not achieving anything. What does it achieve? But the people can feel in a bind, because it's like, no matter how many times you vote for different people, underneath it all, they're all the same people. Once they get into power, they get seduced by money and prestige and people in high places. And the result is they neglect their own people and push for this new normal. The build back better, To build back better implies that you destroyed what came before. Yeah? I also find it funny. I think I don't know if this is true. It's just my guess that the people who coordinated this, if you can even call it coordinated, what is that really? Other than 3 pallets and a bicycle on fire in the middle of a road. It's not exactly a rebellion, is it? Right? But it is however many people voicing their displeasure in a way that isn't helpful, right? Now, the only thing that I can conclude, and again, like I said a minute ago, this is a guess, that the reason why they chose The Hague is because this is where the International Criminal Court is located. So they could be trying to make a message to show that they can be held accountable too. This is where the International Court, the Criminal Court, is held, where people who are of specifically not Western descent are sent to have sham trials. I will believe that the Hague International Criminal Court works when Tony Blair and Joe Biden and Jacinda Ardern and the Canadian guy, the ridiculous one, what's his name, Trudeau, when they're put in there, then I will believe that the International Criminal Court works. Until then, no. It's like the centerpiece of the whole thing is this bicycle and it's like a bicycle and 3 planks of wood that's on fire. This is it, In Tunisia, they overthrow an entire Gaddafi regime. In The Hague, they set fire to a bicycle. Anyway, look, let's move on. This is an interesting one. This is Austria. I keep almost saying Australia. This is not Australia. This is Austria, right? And I don't speak Austrian, of course, or German. So I don't know what's being said. I have had some context given to me. And, as we'll go through it in a moment, it does appear to be the truth. This is one of many anti-poke mandate demonstrations, and people who have banners that have the Austrian/German word for police on it. The context for the clip is that apparently the police and the army have said that they will refuse to physically enforce, if asked to do so by the government. They will physically refuse to enforce the mandates. That is apparently what's being said. So take a look. You'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean. Take a look. Polizzi. So we know that these people are representing the police. I don't know if they are police officers. I would believe they are, but I don't know for sure. So they have turned up at this anti-mandate demonstration. We should really just start calling them demos because it gets around the YouTube blockage. This is the way to do it, right? You see what we saw earlier with the guys in the Netherlands setting fire to an old man's bicycle and they threw a plank of wood on it and they called it a day. This is what needs to be done. You can hear the crowd of people cheering on the police guys and the quote-unquote military guys. Apparently there's some guys from the army there who said that they too would not enforce it. But if it is as it has been laid out to us, then this is the way to go, because they are being encouraged by the crowd, the general public. The carrot and the stick is the oldest behavioural modification tool known to man. And if people are behaving badly, if you give them the stick, it might work, it might not work. It's a high stakes gamble, but either way, you're going to get a lot of bad press. If you use the carrot, on the other hand, if someone tries to give you bad press for using the carrot, yeah, for kindness and generosity, they would come across looking the bad ones themselves. Just look at the mainstream media. The mainstream media is a global laughing stock. The mainstream media know, deep down they know that they have the reputation of a toilet brush, and it's all deserved. It's their own fault. Okay, that's what happens when you use the stick too much to the wrong people. In this case, the general public. So let's use the carrot. Yeah? Show the police, show the army that you'll be heroes if you join our side. And that's the clip. Remember, I've already made my point on it. Carrot and stick. Let's use the carrot instead of the stick. We'll leave the stick for the mainstream media. Give them a lot of stick. So we'll move on now to... I've made my point. I made my point halfway through that video, and I thought that was a very good point I made, if I do say so myself. So let's move on to the third and final clip. Sorry about the shape of the clip. I didn't record it, of course. I know it looks a bit silly. What can I do? It's just the way it was recorded. So this woman is an NHS employee. Remember, if you didn't skip my open monologue, the NHS is the National Health Service. It is our public health service. And we were promised by the mainstream media that there would be bodies piled up to the ceiling, that people would be coughing up their lungs in hallways and corridors, that the hospitals to be blocked up and there'd be mass panic everywhere. That's what we were promised by a very eager mainstream media. So let's hear it from a nurse herself.
Nursing staff redeployed, and a lot ended up retiring or going on the sick. Honestly, people were so petrified of this in the beginning, myself included. I was coming home afraid to hug my children. I was walking through a hospital with no protection.
If you are a member of a government and you've been briefed in secret that it's not as bad as it's been made out to be, and through your own actions you put your own citizens in a position where they're scared to hug their own children, shame on you. next time when you're running for public office, put that out there. You say, hi, my name is Joe Bloggs, I'm running to be your local MP. I think it's okay to scare nurses. You know, the people we're told that we have to worship. Nurses are scared to hug their own children. Put that on your resume if you think that's good.
No mask, wondering if the very air I was breathing was toxic.
So she said, sorry to keep stopping it, but she said that she was worried if the air she's breathing is toxic. She's just confirmed something I've been saying since the start of this clown show, which is that we are going back to an age where people believe in miasmas. Now, you've probably not heard of the term miasma. It's a very old term. It was something that was believed for centuries. It kind of reached its zenith in the medieval times when the Black Death reared its head and spread everywhere, which is kind of almost coincidental, isn't it? It's a bit of a coincidence. A miasma is the idea that the air is toxic itself, that there's a malevolent entity that kind of moves through the air. This is before they even understood what mist is. So they would see the early morning mist and think, oh, miasma, especially in them superstitious days. But we got over that. We rightfully, especially in the West, with all our advancement, we rightly understood by the Renaissance era that the concept of a miasma was bunk. I warned that it would come back. The concept of air being this malevolent, evil being that could infect you, it's coming back. And it's the mainstream media that's to blame for it.
But I soon began to realise that things weren't adding up. I soon realised that things weren't adding up around May time, and I started to question everything. Our doctors were also redeployed, and when they eventually came back, I heard them say in their own words, we were standing about scratching our backsides. Then we had the TikTok nurses doing perfect dance routines full of energy. Where was the exhausted, overworked, understaffed nurses we were constantly being told about on the MSN?
Right. We were constantly told on the mainstream media, as she just said, MSM, constantly told that they're dying, they're dropping like flies, that there's bodies being piled up, and oh, we might have to have giant funeral pyres, and there were people coughing their lungs up, and all of this super scare tactic stuff from the mainstream media. Have you noticed with the mainstream media, they never offer hope? Have you noticed that? It's never a pleasant message, a hopeful message, an inspirational message. It's only doom, gloom, give more power to big state, big government, big pharma, big anything.
I certainly never seen any. I'm really tired of it all at the minute. I can barely think straight. But all I can say is for months I had nothing to do. I was going to work to stare at a computer for 8 hours a day, play on the internet and watch Netflix on my phone, all while getting paid. I almost quit several times because I knew I was part of the lie, and I hated myself and my job. But I needed to keep a roof over my kid's head and food on the table. I am ashamed to say I worked for the NHS. We have neglected so many people.
That's spicy.
And the ever-growing waiting list for surgeries are now pushing on 4 to 5 years minimum.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, isn't it? 4 or 5 years for surgeries. Imagine that, a waiting list of 4 to 5 years. It's like people are surprised that human beings can actually die from something else. It just goes to show you how, even in this modern age, people, there is a particular block of normies. They were born normies, they are normies now, and they will die normies. There's a particular block of these people, the 2.4 children, keeping up with the Joneses type people, who don't and will never understand that the mainstream media lies to them, manipulates them, and controls them. They'll never get it. Sure, little numbers of them will break off after being exposed to the real world and reality, but there will always be this block, this seething mass of keeping up with the Joneses, who will just do whatever the mainstream media says. They'll vote blue no matter who. In this case, in Britain, it's red no matter who, because that's the Labour Party. Imagine red Democrats or blue Republicans. That's kind of what it's like here. But this seething mass of people, they'll never change.
It's sickening. Something else that has really annoyed me is the fact that we were portrayed as heroes. We were getting free food, pizza, all sorts of donations. We got free travel and public transport.
Yeah, this is another thing. You know, they were put on a pedestal as heroes, even though they were doing a job. They were getting paid for it. They weren't volunteers. They were being paid for it. What about the warehouse workers, the bricklayers, the carpenters, the electricians, the farmers, the farm hands, the shop workers, the sewage workers, the plumbers? What about everyone else who keeps society going? Yes, nurses and doctors do an amazing job, but they wouldn't have a hospital to do their job in if it wasn't for the bricklayers and the labourers and the electricians, the carpenters, the window fitters, the production workers. To say that one person is more important than another because of the job they do is something I don't agree with.
We got all sorts of discounts in stores, and we were even applauded every Thursday night, and we deserved none of it.
As she said herself, I won't go as far as saying they deserved none of it. I don't agree with her there. They deserved some of it, but everyone else who was still at work did as well. Okay? Especially if you were a normie and you thought, as this woman was a normie, that you thought that there was miasmas in the air that was going to come and take you away. Because Brian Stelter said so, or Don Lemon.
The hospital itself made all their food and drinks free to all staff. We could have had many breakfasts, lunches, dinners, snacks, beverages, all at the Trust's expense. I thought at the time...
All at the taxpayers' expense.
And this was great, but I soon realised this was nothing short of bribery.
I soon realised it was nothing short of bribery. I'll leave it there. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.